Okay, welcome to the next edition of Poolside Chat. I'm Ari Mandel, and I'm here with Emily today. Emily, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you could do an even better job than I can.
Sure.
So tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Bartkowicz. I'm the litigation support manager at Akerman. I'm based here in sunny South Florida, and I'm really glad that you're here with me. Previously, before I became the litigation support manager, I worked as a litigation paralegal, also at Akerman. I've been there for many, many, many years. And now I had been working with a dedicated legal team, and now I support the entire firm.
And a funny story about that. So Emily and I were both at Akerman at the exact same time, and we did not know each other at that time. So many years later, we finally got to connect and get to know each other a little better.
Yep.
Well, perfect. So today we're going to be talking a lot about eDiscovery adjacent tools, on the forensics, on the eDiscovery, on the production, all those things that you don't traditionally think of. We talk a lot about what can you do in Relativity, Nuix, Reveal, a lot of those traditional tools. And I know you use a lot of non-traditional tools as well to simplify your life, to make matters and workflows easier. So let's start on the beginning of things, looking at forensics. What sort of things do you do to accelerate, I'm not going to say forensics, let me say data collections.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, because I am not a forensic examiner, I don't have any background working in forensics, one of the biggest things I do is I establish a really good lines of communication with my forensic partners.
Okay.
And I really talk through with them what our end goal is so that we can identify the best approach to collecting the data, which does not always require a forensic expert to do so.
So I'm glad you made that point, because I'm a huge fan of distinguishing between what I call eDiscovery collections and forensics collections, where you still want the expertise of a technical person, but you don't necessarily need them. They're not going to be testifying. Chances are they're not going to write an affidavit. You just need that expert to come in to help, be able to access the system and gather that data for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when we think of forensics, maybe traditionally we think of imaging an entire device, but now because so much is in the cloud, we don't need to image a device, image a phone. There's a lot of great tools available out there that will even allow you to just kind of pinpoint maybe one chat conversation that you need to preserve, where it's not required to have an entire mailbox or an entire phone's worth of conversations.
So that's a great point too. So I just got back from, and I'm going to give them a plug, the EDI Leadership Summit here just recently.
Okay.
And we were talking a lot about specifically mobile phone collections and the transition from going from traditional, I have to have somebody physically there, so now I can do remote collections, I can do targeted collections. How are you and your clients adopting that? Are you getting any pushback from anybody to do that?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've seen recently the development of a lot of new tools designed to make collections even more targeted and more specific, so you're not collecting so much. We do a lot of remote collections or facilitate a lot of remote collections, but even then, you have to take the entire contents of the phone. And with so many people using their personal devices for business purposes, not everybody wants to hand over all their kids' pictures and their personal calendar and everything else. And so I see a lot of great value in some of these more targeted tools that will allow you to just collect, a call log from a specific period of time, or a communication between two people, just one chat communication.
So that's perfect. So let's segue kind of into our main topic here, eDiscovery adjacent tools. So before we talk about specific tools or workflows, why is this something that you find so useful in your daily job, or does your team find so useful?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the review tools that are out there are life-changing. I think we all know how wonderful some of those tools are in facilitating large document reviews, preparing for productions, making sure that your data is soundly captured and with all your metadata, and it can't be questioned. But there's a lot of other great tools out there to help facilitate the rest of the discovery. Things like tools to help you manage your depositions, your witnesses, build case chronologies. And there's a lot of value in those as well. They streamline processes, and I think ultimately they help you and your client save money because it creates such great efficiency.
So let me ask you, so again, before we talk about the tool, some of the tools themselves, do you use a lot of these tools integrated into your review primary tool, or do you find it better to kind of go to a different tool that's separate and segregate that purpose?
So I've seen some tools, and we're using some tools that will integrate with your review database, but the functions are still separate.
Okay.
So you will, let's say you're trying to collect and do a deep analysis of your hot docs amongst your team, more work product on the hot docs. Being able to import things easily from your review tool right into one of these, I call them a case management tool or litigation management tool. The transition's seamless, but it serves a different purpose, whether you're teeing up for depositions or trying to find the right exhibits or, designations.
So let's talk about, if you can mention some of those tools that our audience might find useful, and maybe give us a use case for one of those. How do you or your team use those, or even just benefit from those?
Sure. So just generally, the tools that I'm most aware of in the market are the Case Map Suite, a Lexis product. I think it's been around for a very long time. There's some newer tools that have come to market as well, like Opus 2 and Evercron. As a use case we have right now, we have a piece of litigation that has dozens and dozens of depositions. And the case team needs to gear up for designations.
Okay.
And, to do that manually, or to do that, the old page line summary type kind of flow will take a long time, especially when you have so many transcripts and so many witnesses. So tools like this can help you to search and find that testimony that's most pertinent.
Okay.
And then, that it will actually help generate your output for your designations that you have to, follow the court.
Okay. So I know one of my personal favorite, I call it eDiscovery adjacent, is the Privlog builders that we have now, where you're able to actually dynamically build the Privlog, not just as you're reviewing documents, but in a collaborative nature. I mean, I know when I was on my paralegal and lit support days, we were exporting, sharing Excel documents back and forth, or even when somebody was traveling, them trying to get access to that one shared document was a pain.
Yeah. I literally have PTSD from privilege logs that were done in Excel. It's like, not again, not more, please, no. So I agree with you. Privilege log builders that are integrated in your review tools they're lifesavers and huge time savers. And while I've never sat down to quantify the value, dollar wise, I know it in my heart that there's major value in taking that route.
Very much. So the other one that I like to speak about personally is load file reviews. So, we talk a lot about integrating and having these bigger tools, but some of these offline tools as well. And I know there's various companies and I'll give a shout out to ReadySuite, that give you the ability to look at this common file without opening TextPad or Notepad. If you don't have a technical person, they can look at the load file, they can see the fields, they can look for commonly missing information. It's such a simple thing, but it saves us so much time.
Totally.
Is there any tools that you have along those lines that maybe not load file related or load file related that you use?
Sure. So, I sit in kind of a different seat operationally. Those are the types of tools that the project managers within my group will utilize. So while I don't have a whole lot of firsthand knowledge actually, digging into those, I reap the benefits of them.
Awesome. Great point.
Of course. For example, when we're bringing in new data sets, our case teams, they want to know how big is it? What's in there? What's discussed? What's it going to cost the client? And so being able to analyze those ahead of time, we can then provide them with all of that information.
Oh, perfect. So I'm assuming those teams that you work with, have access to similar type tools
Yeah.
that will streamline that process.
Sure.
So another great example of looking at why these tools are important. They're speeding up that process. They're giving you the information in a more expedient manner.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, when you make that request, your partners are not waiting days or weeks for information. It's at their fingertips.
Sure, of course.
Awesome. Was there anything else on the eDiscovery adjacent side that you can think of that you really like? You mentioned case strategy. So I'm a big fan of Opus 2 and Evercron and tools like that. Are there any others that you might have used in the past that help build to this place?
Sure. Well, I mean, we were longtime users of the Case Map suite, and I think now that these tools have moved into the cloud, the ability to collaborate more, amongst the team has just grown exponentially, which I think also then lends to more efficiencies, and more cost savings.
Well, perfect. Well, that brings us kind of to our last topic, talking about case analysis and workflows. Can you give any tricks and tips to our team and to our listener? What do you do, or what do you try to teach your team so that they are best enabled to give analysis of each of their matters, build a workflow that whether using these eDiscovery adjacent tools or using the tools you have in house?
Sure. I think, like I said, on the data collection side, I think one of the most helpful things is open lines of communication. When you're talking with, a new case team that's come in and they need help, what exactly are they looking for in the way of help? What's their end goal? What's their turnaround time? What are their expectations from us? And understanding the bigger picture really helps to, provide the best service, the best service that we can.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Emily, we're going to kind of transition into our Q&A part of this.
Okay.
So audience, I'm going to welcome you to go ahead and ask any questions you have. Emily, thank you so much for joining me here in wonderful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I know this is kind of like adjacent to your hometown right now. I know you're not originally from here, but what a wonderful place to be. I mean, in end of October, and to have this weather.
Yes.
Okay, maybe a little windy, but you know what? I cannot complain. So
thank you, Ari.
No, but thank you for joining me from the bottom of my heart.
Yes.
Everybody, I hope you found this very useful and helpful. If you did, please make sure to join me next month in November. I'll have another very special guest. Thank you.